Let's go, Rider Nation.
I'm ready. I'm ready. Yeah, here we go. Here we go. It's a feeling now. Get 'em high, get 'em low, 'cause we're dealing now. Everybody's giving it all they got, 'cause we're ready.
Oh, my goodness. You guys, are you kidding me?
5, 6,
What?
7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
Riders win
12.
30. You can count to 12.
I can count to 12.
Toronto can't count to 12, and that almost single-handedly cost them the game. It played a huge part. Piffles podcast live here after the Riders beat the Argos 39-32. We got some thoughts. Let's talk about it. If you guys have comments, questions, anything, drop them in the comments here in the section. YouTube, X, Facebook, wherever you're watching us. Let's hear them. Let us know what you think of the game, what you thought, how close you were to cutting Brett Lothar again this week after that last second miss.
I think I'm still there. I'm still there.
I don't know if I can. I gave him the benefit of the doubt last week, saying he can, he deserves the chance to redeem himself, and missed a huge kick that would have put the Riders up 2 scores. But we can blame Glenn Suter on that, right? For jinxing it. Just like you can blame me for the Daniel Johnson holding penalty, because I talked about how we weren't talking about him. Okay, but let's start right at the very ending. Mario Alford returning the kickoff after the Argos came back and tied at 32-32, 99 yards for a touchdown. The most impressive part was not the fact that the Argos only had 11. There was no flag on the play. So you guys, right off the bat, what's your thoughts?
I'll say this. I love the fact that with these post-game shows, the Riders are giving us something to talk about. Last week, it was Brett Lothar at his awful game. This week, it was the penalties. There's always a very clear point of discussion that we can jump right into. I appreciate that. They're making our job easy.
I love this team and I hate this team. This game should not have been that much of a roller coaster. They had a very good early lead and somehow they found a way to just piss it away and then somehow just completely redeem themselves at the end. My Lord.
They went full Dumb and Dumber on that. Just when you think they couldn't possibly be any dumber.
I'm sensing a bit of a theme with games this year. Get out to a lead, have the game in hand, and let them back into it just to give us that little bit of stress, because there's not enough gray hairs in Rider Nation. Have you been to Mosaic Stadium? We have enough gray hairs. Can we have some nice, easy ones?
I have some talking points I want to bring up. Where do you guys want to start? Do you want to start with the start of the game? Is there anything specific you guys want to jump into? Where do you guys want to go with this?
Okay, the Argos in that first half, if it wasn't for that opening drive touchdown, we're not in this game at all. That first half, the Riders locked them down, except for that first drive. That was that opening drive defense is so soft. I don't know, why were they 5 yards off the goal line in the end zone just watching the ball in front of them?
That's 3 straight games to open the season. They have let their opponents just walk into the end zone to start the game. 3 straight games. How does that happen? I don't know how you can't come into a game so unprepared like that. And it's the same thing over and over and over. It's that soft defense. Teams know it. They're exploiting it. You're making Nick Arbuckle look like Grey Cup Nick Arbuckle on that first drive. It's just they win. They'll force turnovers. They'll get sacks. And there's some really good stuff happening with this defense. But you see stuff like that, and it pisses me off because it's coming. We know it's coming every single week, and they still allow it to happen.
If you want to put money down on anything right now, it's to put money down on the Riders giving up a touchdown to start the game. It seems like the defense just needs that, wake up call to get going, because they're usually really good afterwards until the fourth quarter hits and they decide to to go back to that zone soft defense and let teams back into it. But from the second and third quarter, they're fantastic. So let's see more of that and less of the bookends.
If they win the coin toss, take the ball. Please take the ball. Don't kick it off. Don't defer it to the second half. Just don't give up that opening 7-0, because BC next week is going to come in here, and I almost guarantee Nathan Rourke, after not playing this, if he plays, whether it's him or Mazzoli, whoever, doesn't matter, they're going to come in and jam it down our throats, and it'll be 7-0 BC to start. Like, take the ball, please.
See, what they're doing is they're luring them into a false sense of confidence, and then that's when the Riders decide
reverse psychology.
Exactly, yeah. They think they can score on us, and then we shove it down their throats until the fourth quarter. Then we just let them back in, just to embarrass them and humiliate them by a Mario Alford touchdown at the very end.
Oh, it's funny you say that. I'm sitting here watching the highlights and watching that play, and they pan to Nick Arbuckle's face.
Yeah,
right after Mario Alford crosses the line. Just that deserves an Oscar right there for that that image.
Tommy Stevens. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I'm looking at it again. A really easy talking point. AJ Ouellette, 91 yards this game. The dude is not allowed to crack 100 in Ryder Green. That's 2 straight more than 90-yard rushing games, and he just can't quite get over that hump.
Well, and I have this written down or typed out because I don't write. Talking points that I have that I want to talk about, and one was obviously the touchdown by AJ Ouellette to tie the game at 7. Huge blocks by Trevon Tate pulling and Jacob Brammer sealing the outside.
Yep.
And I mean, we can get into that, but so that was a nice touchdown run, nice play calling, play design. But I also put in here lack of running back use, because in the first half, AJ Ouellette only had 6 carries?
Yep.
And going into the third quarter, they completely abandoned the run. They were up 13 and they completely abandoned it. Then they finally start getting going at the end of the third quarter. They moved the ball. 6 O-line set. Zach Fry was out there for a handful of plays in a row. Huge touchdown drive. Tommy Stevens gets in, making it a 10-point game at that point. Why are they abandoned? Like, we saw this with Jason Moss as our offensive coordinator. Now we're seeing it with Mark Mueller. They're just completely abandoning the run in the second and third quarters. They established the line of scrimmage in the first quarter. Like, outside of that first drive, that whole first quarter was just complete dominance by both the O-line and the D-line, getting pressure and the O-line just creating huge holes. And then they just completely go away from it. They don't even try in the third quarter to run the ball. So, like, what? It's clearly working. So, and you're going against a defense that's missing their all-star stud middle linebacker in Wynton McManus. Keep jamming it down the middle, 5, 6, 8 yards at a time. AJ was just ripping him off. He was getting good holes from the O-line, who all of a sudden can run block. After week 1, we had the same, concerns about last year where they could pass protect, but they couldn't run block. All of a sudden they're run blocking, and then we stopped using it. So, like, it's weird to me how they're just doing that. Like, I mean, they're setting up the run to open the pass. Sure, I get that, but you got to keep the run in there too.
Well, and one of the one of the few smart things Luke Wilson said tonight is they were using that run to create the play action. The play action was looking really good off that run, but once you go away from it, it doesn't work anymore because they don't trust you anymore. So you got to keep on playing that run, especially the way that AJ is running, the way that Thomas the Train is running. Like, you got to keep feeding them a heavy dose of that so they respect the run. Then that's when you can throw it over the top.
Let's go to the penalties, because that was a huge part of the game. First half, there was those handful of misconducts. It didn't stop. I said to you guys at halftime, all they got to do is just calm down. Corey Mace and Ryan Dinwiddie needed to do it at the half too. Calm down. Way too many penalties. It didn't stop at all. Like, it got ridiculous. I think final tally, I don't have it
It's pretty close to
18
400.
penalties, 178 yards.
Yeah, 18 for 178.
And then
Ridiculous.
Toronto had a lot too. Like it was almost 400 yards in penalties for both teams. It was almost like muscle memory for the referees just to start grabbing their flag every play.
Like and chippiness, like what? Like I don't get it because AJ Ouellette's playing his former team because Corey Mace is coaching against them like 2 years later. Like this is Toronto and Saskatchewan. There's no history there of anything.
I honestly think that it went downhill after the DDB shot block that hurt the Argos player. Like it was an unfortunate incident that happened, but I think that kind of lit the fuse, if you will.
Well, the next play was that roughing the passer on the hit on Harris, right?
Yeah. So it's like, yeah, unfortunately the game just started getting out of control and the refs were trying to keep it going. But like when Liam Hiralahu gets a misconduct penalty, you know there's an issue happening in a game.
The one time you realize that kickers are actually people too is when they're getting the misconduct penalties.
They're not people.
And we just had Clark's comment up on there that Mike Rose roughing the passer late in the game on Nick Arbuckle. Yeah. Apparently you can get roughing the passer when the quarterback ducks into your arm.
He headbutted his arm. Like it was ridiculous.
I get it. You see the contact with the head, so you're gonna throw the flag. That's when command center needs to, or the review center, whatever, needs to step in and be like, no. This is actually what happened. Take the time, get it right, especially when it comes to headshots. Because if we're talking specifically and like player safety, right? Get it right.
And especially because it was inside the last 3 minutes too. That is when the command center is supposed to be reviewing everything. And to not step in on that and go, I don't think that one was illegal, but the DDB one from earlier in the game when they step in, I never realized that you could auto review, or that the command center could auto review an illegal
eye in the sky.
Yeah, that's
technically speaking, that's why the eye in the sky is supposed to be there. They never do it, but the fact I think part of the reason was they had a very long time to look at that play several times, and
they did get it right.
Yeah, and unfortunately that's what happens when they have plenty of time to review. Remember the kick return against us that took forever to that O'Shea had reviewed during a commercial break? They had plenty of time to look at that one. Like, it's ridiculous.
My problem with the eye in the sky isn't so much that they got the call right or wrong, because they were dead on. They got it right. It's the inconsistency with which they step in on plays. And there'll be identical plays or similar plays, roughing plays, things like that, and they don't jump in, and yet this one they do. If it was consistent, I would have no issues with it. But it has been inconsistent for years, and every team will say it's biased against theirs. I've seen it too many times where things affect the riders.
Was biased against us tonight,
right?
Well, and we want to talk about roughing the passer. How did Lanier not get roughing the passer for that high hit on Trevor? And then we end up challenging, for pass interference. They had a better shot asking for the pass interference play. Like, why didn't the command center kick in on that? Those are one of those things they can automatically review.
They pick and choose, and it's ridiculous. They've got to find some sort of consistency when they're doing that. If you're going to call one, you got to check them all. Let's go to Dante Myers. Week 1, it was Sam Emilus. Week 2 is Keyshawn Johnson. Week 3, it's Dante Myers. I saw somebody comment on X to me earlier. This team has 3 number 1 receivers. I don't know if I'd go that far. I don't think Dante Myers is number 1 just yet, but we saw him last year he played 5. He was dressed for 5 games, only played in 4 and had 400 yards in those games. So he was on pace for damn near 1,800 yards, which would have been a rider record. We really just saw what this guy could do. And that you talked about the play action, Greg, setting up the pass. That first touchdown that he had, that hot route where it was a
So
beautiful pump fake on the slant, and then just cut it to the corner. Just beautiful. And then obviously that long touchdown, showing off the speed, breaking through. Luckily the safety fell on the play, slipped a little bit for the Argos in the middle of the field, allowing him to get to the outside. King Canadian, that was you. Yes. But Dante Myers, I friggin' love this guy. Like, this receiving core, and we've seen 2 Canadian starters, miss already. Plus we're missing Sean Bain Jr. They don't seem to miss a beat. Obviously don't want any more injuries there, but there's somebody different every week. So maybe it's Joe Robustelli next week. Maybe it's, Del Duncan Busby, who knows? But Dante Myers, what an absolute find for this team last year. And if he stays healthy, and him and Keyshawn Johnson, the 2 Americans that we're going to rely on heavily in this offense, look out.
I'm saying this now, it's week 3. We have the best receiving core in this league. I don't want to hear about Ottawa. I don't want to hear about Winnipeg. I don't want to hear about Hamilton with Kenny and Bo. You cannot double team any receiver on the Riders right now, because they will all burn you. It is ridiculous how good the talented receivers that they found.
I'll take some credit for Dante Myers' game today, because about an hour before kickoff, I swapped Dante Myers with Keyshawn Johnson in my fantasy lineup. And as soon as I take somebody out, I know damn well they're going to go off. So, I needed somebody to make up for Alexander Davis's performance yesterday. And yes, I know his name is Davis Alexander.
The league doesn't.
That's the best part.
Right after the commissioner says the website's not very good and we need to upgrade, blah, blah, blah.
I'm so happy that Garfield's owner's catching on.
I just saw that. Yeah, Pink Panther. I had something here. Where did I go?
You were going to talk about Tommy Stevens.
Yes, Tommy Stevens. Give that man a raise. I don't know what he's making, but it's not enough. This is when I miss Rod Black, because Tommy would be Mr. Automatic or Mr. Reliable or Mr. Something. He would be something. But every time he comes in, it's a guarantee. Death, taxes, Tommy Stevens first down. Like, those are the 3 things you can count on in life. And he finally broke it around the edge.
I thought he was going all the way. I really did.
Too. He was phenomenal. And then I think it was Connie, when the Riders were up on the goal line. Connie, who's a big Stampeders fan, I think she works for them as well too. She does not like the Riders, and she goes, "Psst, Tommy Stevens runs right. What does he do? Runs left, gets a 2-yard touchdown." So he did switch it up, but yes, to the right. When you're running behind Hardrick and Brammer, though, when they're pushing the pile the way they are, and you have Ferland right beside them, I'm following those 3 guys.
I'm mad at the Suter, though. He actually did something very insightful and pointed out that Tommy Stevens runs whichever side Keyshawn Johnson's on, and they moved Keyshawn from the right side to the left side, and that's when he went left. I'm like, shut up, Glenn.
Go back to your other talking points, Suits.
Yeah.
He already jinxed us on the kick. We don't need him giving coaching points to BC for next week. But we talked about it last week, and we're probably going to talk about it every week, how nice it is to just sit back, put your feet up, because it's Tommy time. You know it's coming. You know he's going to get the first down. And we said it. It's only a matter of time until he breaks one. And sure enough, what was it? 27 yards? Followed immediately by AJ Willette's touchdown run. You can't ask for more. And we saw the difference. You look at what Toronto did in short yardage with Arbuckle there at the end of the second half. Had a lot of shades of the game in Toronto last year. Starting to get
That's the reason why they went to Daggy the next time around.
and actually, that was one of the next talking points I had here. That long, and that was a 96-yard drive, something like that for the Argos. Took about 7 or 8 minutes off the clock.
Yeah, it took 8 minutes off the clock anyway.
Just a huge drive for. It was 17-7 at that point for the Riders. Stopped him at the 1. Revis had 2 tackles at the goal line. AJ Allen had one on the second down there. It was just, we're talking about obviously the big things that happen in the game, and people are going to talk about Brett Lothar. They're going to talk about that big Myers touchdown. They're going to talk about Mario Alford, obviously. But that drive, stopping that drive, because it happened in the first half, isn't going to get mentioned enough. And for them to stop that was such a huge component of this game. And it was just I love seeing those, end goal stops. Like those are just, I love those. They don't get talked about nearly enough. Even if you have a bunch of them in a game, it's just something that, I mean, the Riders, what was it? It was the opening game in Edmonton in 2023, maybe, had like 2 or 3 goal line stops, helped them win that game, right? So obviously that season went off the rails, but it's something that can propel you. And they played, back in a couple of years ago when they started that season, they started the season very, very well. And I think that those goal line stops actually do provide that momentum to a team going forward.
Well, and we saw it last year in the game in Toronto when we were there too, that didn't end up with the same success with the last second Rouge for the win, but it was the goal line stops that kept the Riders, who were far and away the lesser team that day, in that game for 60 minutes. To see it again this year in Toronto, that they're going to push at that 1 yard line. That's something that is a Corey May staple, that stop at the 1. It seems like it's consistent. You love to see it.
The longer I become a football fan, especially the more I get involved with Regina Thunder, the more I love that battle in the trenches, the more I watch that battle in the trenches. You don't see that on TV unless it is those short yard situations. The Riders' defensive line and offensive line were way better than Toronto's tonight, like so much better. Like if you can win those battles, you're going to win a lot of games. Do they need to be this close? No. But the fact remains is the lines are looking great. We need to clean up the penalties, obviously. Shane Ray was Ken Shamrock tonight. He was in the zone and losing it.
Well, I can see why that's, kind of not a revenge game, but it was against his former team. They didn't, they just let him go because of injury, whatever, right? Like that's why they didn't eventually bring him back. But he was one that he needed to calm down after that one. Was it an offside penalty? Got pulled off the field. So he had one of those misconducts, I think, or was involved in something.
He
right?
did.
So,
no, he did. He definitely did get a misconduct.
I don't even know if there was a player on the team that didn't get a misconduct penalty this week.
The most surprising part of that was that we didn't get anybody ejected with the 2 misconduct rule. With what was there, 12 different misconducts?
Everybody taking turns.
Yeah. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but I'm getting text messages and there's comments in here. Apparently, Dinwiddie is losing his mind. Someone's going home tomorrow, so he is not happy with the performance of his team tonight.
I mean, I would be whoever didn't go out on the field for the kick return. Whoever that 12th guy is already cut.
One more thing I want to just finish up with the O-line, since we were kind of talking about the lines there. Daniel Johnson, last year's 5th round draft pick, spent last year on the PR, was one of Corey Mace's, I don't want to say favorites, but got a lot of praise from him in training camp. Starting at left tackle now, and we have not mentioned him at all over the first couple games. He did have that one holding penalty, which again, my fault, because I said we're not talking about him. And the next play, he went and got a holding penalty. But Daniel Johnson, what if we can ever find some Canadian guards that can stay healthy in free agency, that we signed in free agency, these all-stars that we're signing that get hurt in training camp, if we can ever keep one healthy, and
we have one. His name is Logan Ferland. He's playing center right now.
Yeah, but we didn't sign him in free agency. I'm talking about guys coming in.
Oh.
But if we can find one Canadian that can actually step in there, all of a sudden Daniel Johnson becomes a ratio breaker.
Yep.
I mean, he kind of is at left tackle, but not when you're playing 2 American guards. It kind of balances itself off. But man, has he been good to start this season? And I love it.
I'm excited for, I hate to say this, next year for our offensive line, because unfortunately our injuries are season-long injuries this year. But next year, the amount of talented Canadians we have for this offensive line and young ones, and guys that we drafted that are going for NFL experience that are probably going to be here next year or have another year of college that are going to be here next year, that competition for the offensive line is going to be ridiculous.
Joe Couch,
Oy.
I thought had a pretty bad game punting, and it wasn't it was the placement of the ball and the bounces that he was getting. Between the one that bounced back 5 or 6 yards, which gave the Argos the ball after a nice return at the 31-yard line they got possession at, and then the one kick that went basically straight out of bounds, add on another penalty on top of that. That was only a net of like 15 yards or whatever it was. Like, the Riders have a punting problem. Ever since
they have a
Adam
kicking
Forsberg,
problem.
Well, yeah.
Know who
Adam
kicks
Forsberg
both field
retired.
goals and punts? I'm just saying. Know who kicks field goals and punts?
Day 5.
Go full Sheldon on this one.
I actually didn't do it today because I'm like, okay, the joke's done, but I might go back to it because I might have to.
It's not midnight yet.
Kicking was not good
Oh.
tonight, so you can bring that back. I think it's fair. So do they go with James Evans next week? Because I mean, can James Evans hold a field goal? Because ultimately that's what it might come down to if we're relying on somebody that can just punt. And
Can
I don't know
Thomas
if he's going to be any
Stevens
good at it, but
can anyone can hold the kicking ball? Anyone can. Get Tommy Stevens back there. You know why? Because then you can actually probably draw a fake off it if you really had to. What is Joe Couch going to do other than hold a kick?
the fire drill would be fun with Tommy Stevens if that ever came to it, right?
Exactly.
The problem with putting Tommy Stevens back there is he's going to pick up the ball and run for 20 yards and a first down.
I would have no problem with that, the way that the Lothar's been kicking this season. And I like him.
So with that said, Brett Lothar, what do you do here? Because the Riders did win, and again, winning masks things.
Not that though. Not that.
Like that should have been a gimme. Like that was not a hard kick. That was a convert distance. And Glenn Suter, when he jinxed him, said it. It was the first pressure kick he faced all night. Those pressure kicks Lothar was so good at in his career, and I don't have that same faith in him like I used to.
I said it the other night when I recorded with Fraser on the Greencast, Stepping in for Gas, and it's in his head. He needs a sports psychologist at this point because you can see it in his eyes the minute he lines up. He is doubting himself.
He's fighting.
And when you are, it's like a golfer trying to make that shot. Like, if you doubt yourself, you aren't going to do it. And that's where he's at right now. He needs to get out of his head. And I don't know how you do that. Like, you can't just work your way through it. You can try, but it's going to take a lot.
And Brandon says the kicker only missed one field goal. It's not about how many you miss; it's when you're missing them. Because if he makes that kick,
he had two shots, two, and 4 extra points.
If you make that kick, we're not talking about Mario Alford's return because the game is over. There's 10. We're up 10 with a minute and a half to go. I have no concerns about how that game ends. All of a sudden, it's a 1-score game, and we saw what happened. So it's not the fact that he only missed one. Yes, that's unfortunate. It's the timing of when these misses are happening because it was the same last week in Edmonton. Even if he made the other ones, if you missed that last one, you keep it a 1-score game. That's a problem.
Don't get me wrong. If you go 2 for 4 and the Riders win, it doesn't matter. If you go 2 for 4 and you're fighting making a 26-yarder at the end of the game when the pressure's on, that's not just a bad kick. You can tell something's wrong, especially now that it's become a pattern for him.
Yeah, if you're missing a couple 50-yard field goals like we saw last week, again, benefit of the doubt. Those aren't gimmies in the CFL, although with the way that the kicking game has changed over the last decade, especially in the NFL too. Like, I know CFL and NFL are totally different, but kickers in the NFL, you're kicking 60-yarders with relative ease now, right? Like 50-yarders are gimmies. They're just that easy putt, right? Just tap it in. That's what they are in the NFL. we should have good enough kickers up here in the CFL where a 50-yarder is pretty much a guarantee as well too. But I will give benefit of the doubt on that for a 50 plus. If you're missing one or two of those, okay, sure. But when it comes to a 33-yarder, like, you can't be missing those. You just can't. Not in that situation. And I said it on the show, in the NFL, you miss a kick like that and your team loses, you're gone. They'll find somebody else to replace you. Now, is there a bunch of Canadian kickers sitting around? Probably not. That's why you're not seeing it. Yes, I know, Greg, you're going to bring up.
Wait, I know there's one. There's one.
So you kind of have to let them kick through it at this point. But I think now is the week you bring in competition. At least somebody to show Brett Lothar that, hey, your job is not completely safe anymore. Like, we need these points. It almost cost us last week, almost cost us again this week. You can't do it. Oh, Peter Mills.
Yeah, hey, P. But
nice commercials you got on TV there, Pete. I've been watching when I've been watching the hockey games. I'm like, hey, I know that guy.
But if you think about it, it's worked for Mario. Competition has helped Mario.
Yeah.
Everyone after the preseason, it was like, okay, Dre McRae looks great. Mario's got to go. Dre gets nicked up. They keep Mario around, and now Mario literally won us this game. So, like, competition doesn't hurt. It doesn't hinder. It helps grow the guys around them. But it's just weird. We have two punters and only one kicker on this roster, and we're having a lot of trouble with the kicker.
I mean, early season, sure. But come late in the season when you really, really need those, you can't. You can't have those problems. It just, not with how close this team has been keeping games that they should be dominating, games that they should be winning by double digits easily. When you're not getting these points, when you're letting teams crawl back in it, you have to have these points. So, again, winning hides a lot of things, but it's going to come back and bite us. If this happens again next week and we lose a 2-point game because we have a couple missed field goals, yeah, I mean, the pitchforks are out already, but they're going to be throwing those pitchforks and pushing them hard for Lothar. So somebody's got to, they got to bring in somebody just for some competition. Just show him that you got to do better, man.
Here's the thing is, I don't see them bringing anyone in this week. They got BC coming in here, and then it's a bye week. If they bring anyone in, they're waiting till after BC.
Probably.
The good news is we are sitting here at 3-0, and it's a lot easier to smooth over things like Brett Lothar's misses.
Worst 3-0 team we've ever had. Okay, Steve.
Right? Like,
speaking of smooth, though, there's your Churchill.
Lawnmower.
I'll have mine after I'm done driving tonight.
Fair.
But when you're sitting there 3-0, you're getting the wins. These are the times where you need to iron these things out and fix them before they become problems. We can harp on it all we want. The team is sitting atop the West, exactly where we all think they will finish. But it's a concern, but it's a lot easier to handle them when you get the 2 points at the end of the game.
And again, beginning of the season, you're not going to be playing your best football right off the bat. That's a given. You don't want to be seeing your team playing their best right off the bat, because then you get complacent. You want to try and build towards something. Obviously, a lot of the stuff that we're seeing can be corrected, though. That's the good thing. The kicks should be corrected. Bring in somebody. The penalties, obviously, especially with what we saw tonight, can be corrected. It's just, you guys got to chill out, stay out of the skirmishes, just stop jawing, stop doing the hand signals, whatever they're actually calling. And I wish they would actually say what these misconducts are.
No kidding.
Give us some transparency here. Like, is he just yapping his mouth too much? Like, did he say the right word? Did he do the thumb across the neck, which you can't do anymore? Did you do the finger guns? Because you can't do those on a first down anymore.
I want to know what Liam Hiralahu did, because I wanted to hear him he called someone a mother effer. He was given the throat slit. What would a kicker do? What would a kicker do to get him misconduct?
And what do you have to do to get a kicker that agitated?
things can be fixed. They are 3-0, and that is great news. Obviously, you beat the 3 East teams to start the season, which, when you looked at it going in,
Win the games you have to.
Exactly. These 2 points in the standings count just the same as 2 points later in September and October. So, it's just there are things. I could harp on the zone defense, which I see a lot of comments about the zone defense, but that's what we're getting. It's time to just accept that this is exactly what our defense is going to look if we're not getting pressure right off the bat. Thanks, Tim, from the Montreal Alouettes Flight Deck podcast. Welcome to 3-0 Club. It's nice, isn't it?
To be here. What's it like to have the East Division locked up 3 weeks into the season?
Not going to lie, yesterday when I saw the before the Alouettes game, they still had the odds for Montreal to finish first. I may have put a little sprinkle on that to win the East. And with the Riders now beating Toronto, Montreal has a 3-game lead going into tomorrow on everybody in the East. Nobody else in the East has a win. Montreal has 3. So hopefully come November, that's a nice little payday for me.
I feel like that money's pretty safe.
Yeah, I think so too. Hey, no lead in the CFL is safe.
Yeah, apparently not when you're the Riders anyway. Anyway, we'll kind of leave it there. Mario Alford, the hero tonight. He's having a good season. He really is. Even right
He's
off
the Mario Alford we all remembered.
This is the Mario Alford we traded for. Like, there's a reason why we stole him from Montreal when we could. And he was the most outstanding player that wasn't an all-star.
Was it a 6th rounder is what we gave up for him? Is that what it was?
Thanks, Timmy.
That might be we had to remember that guy. There was DJ Flick on the show this past week. Part of what I will say is the greatest trade in Rider history, getting Wayne Smith and DJ Flick for Rocky Butler in the beginning of 2007. But I think getting Mario Alford for, I think it was a 7th conditional, and it ended up being a 6th. That might be.
Whoa. I got to call Peter out on this one.
Whoa.
Sir, Corey Holmes exists. Corey Holmes is a person who exists in this reality, and he is the best Rider returner in history.
I love Corey Holmes, but Peter Mills is right.
Oh,
I agree.
The best
100%.
returner in Rider history is Mario Alford. When you look at touchdowns, when you look at impact he's had on games like that, that is 100% Mario Alford. He has the records. Tristan Jackson was awesome. I love Tristan Jackson too. Man, nobody could return a missed field goal like him.
I've got a game worn Tristan Jackson jersey upstairs.
Really?
Oh, it's rent. Yeah,
he does. I've seen it.
That's awesome. I like that. And Corey Holmes. I mean, we always had the beginning of the 2005 season kicked off with Corey Holmes throwing up some McDonald's, which I don't blame him for that. But returning the opening kickoff for a touchdown, almost had another, like a punt return in that game too. Yeah, exactly. Mario broke the return touchdown franchise record in a year and a half.
I love Corey Holmes. I'm sorry. It goes like Narco, Wesson Dressler, Corey Holmes for me.
It's a pretty good list.
We agree at the top of the list. That's
no
where our
Dennis Kyle.
top 3 ends.
Yeah. I was going to say Keith Toston is what, 3rd for you or what?
Number 2.
All right. Well, we will leave it there because we got to leave some content for next week's show when we will discuss in detail some more on this Riders 39-32 victory over Toronto. Closing remarks, guys, before we go here.
Why does this team not make it easy on us? And why does TSN hate us so much for that booth and that sideline? Besides Britt Dort. Britt Dort, beauty. Love her. But Luke.
What's wrong with Marshall?
I'm not a Marshall play-by-play guy. I like Marshall as a stats guy, maybe even on the panel, but as a play-by-play guy, I find him dry, and there was a lot of silence. It reminded me of the CBC strike when they had no play-by-play.
I like that.
I like that.
So did I, but it's if you're going to have a guy in the booth, have a guy that talks. And Marshall and Suits were just very quiet tonight. It was just weird. It's a bad pairing. It's a bad pairing. That's all I'm saying.
I will agree that was a weird pairing, especially when they didn't use Dustin Nielsen in Edmonton when he lives there on Thursday night, and they flew out Rod Smith and Dwayne Ford to go out to Edmonton, and then flying suits from Vancouver to Toronto to come back to Vancouver for tomorrow made no sense whatsoever to me. So it was weird, but I will say Marshall Ferguson, hot take, I like him better than Dustin Nielsen in the booth.
I disagree. Okay, we might have to discuss. We might have to work through this on Tuesday.
I'm gonna type this up right now. Again, I was gonna say write, but I don't write. I type.
Is this the new Greek food argument? Do I need to make sure?
I don't think it's gonna be that heated.
I don't think so either.
I did have Greek food today for lunch. That was excellent.
But like Greek food, I will still be right no matter what happens.
Oh, so. Stop it! You were not. I want that dash cam footage.
If it goes by passion alone, Alex won that argument
by a
10
landslide
times out of 10.
too.
It wasn't even close.
Was it passion or was it encouragement?
A little bit of both.
Yes.
The Piffles 2.0 was almost done by CFL Week in Winnipeg over Greek food. It was
Oh.
All right. Okay, well, we'll leave it there. Riders win 39-32, beat the Argos, move to 3-0. Things are good in Riderville. Lots of stuff to clean up. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about a couple unsung heroes in I get that, Peter. Dustin better than Marshall. I understand why I like Dusty. I really do. I'll save that for next week's show. Why I like Marshall Ferguson more than Dustin Nielsen in the booth. But we'll leave it there, and we'll end it with a Riders victory and a Go Riders Go. So have a great rest of the weekend, everybody. We'll be back next week with a new episode of the Piffles Podcast.
Thank you for being such a big supporter and fan of the CFL and myself personally.